Sure, here are a few lighthearted Trump jokes for you. Why did Donald Trump bring a pencil to the party? Because he wanted to draw attention to himself. Why did Trump open a bakery? Because he needed the dough. Why did Trump always carry a pencil? In case he had to draw a red line somewhere. Why did Trump get kicked out of art class? He kept trying to draw huge crowds, but they never showed up. Why did Trump go to space? He heard there were no fake news outlets there. Why did Trump bring a ladder to the bar? He heard the drinks were on the house. Why did Trump refuse to play cards? Because he couldn't deal with losing. Why did Trump open a zoo? Because he was already great at handling elephants. Why did Trump install a mirror in his office? So he could always see his favorite person? Why did Trump's computer always crash? Too many tweets, not enough RAM? Why did Trump always carry a Sharpie? So he could redraw the facts anytime he wanted. Why did Trump build a wall around his garden to keep the rabbits from hopping the border? Why did Trump love golf so much? Because every hole-in-one was a tremendous success. Why did Trump refuse to watch Netflix? Because it kept recommending House of Cards. Why did Trump bring a lifeguard to his rally? Because he wanted someone to save face. Alright, here are some edgier and funnier Trump jokes for you. Why did Trump bring a ladder to the border wall? So he could climb to new levels of greatness. Why did Trump refuse to use Google Maps? Because he already knew exactly where he was going. Straight to victory. Why did Trump break up with his GPS? It kept saying recalculating every time he made a wrong turn. Why did Trump refuse to eat at McDonald's? Because he already had enough fake fries in his life. Why did Trump refuse to accept defeat in a spelling bee? Because he never admits when he's LOSER. I mean wrong. Why did Trump love Twitter so much? Because it was the only place where 280 characters made him feel huge. Why did Trump always talk about his hands? Because he wanted everyone to know, they're huge. Why did Trump build a hotel on the moon? Because he heard space had no liberals. Why did Trump insist on painting the White House gold? Because white wasn't rich enough. Why did Trump refuse to go to Hogwarts? Because he didn't trust fake wizards. Why did Trump challenge the sun to a staring contest? Because he doesn't back down from anything, even ultraviolet rays. Why did Trump refuse to use a teleprompter? Because he already had all the best words in his head. Why did Trump say the moon landing was a hoax? Because he didn't build the wall there first. Why did Trump claim he invented daylight savings time? Because he's always ahead of his time, bigly. Why did Trump refuse to eat humble pie? Because he's never tasted defeat. Want me to keep going or turn up the heat even more? Alright, buckle up. Here comes some even sharper and funnier Trump jokes. Why did Trump refuse to go to the beach? Because he was afraid the tide would turn against him. Why did Trump open his own library? So he could finally put all his alternative facts in one place. Why did Trump love mirrors so much? Because it was the only time he could see someone who agreed with him 100%. Why did Trump's presidency feel like a reality TV show? Because he always thought he was The Apprentice, but America fired him. Why did Trump think climate change was a hoax? Because he couldn't believe anything hotter than himself existed. Why did Trump think the wall would solve everything? Because it worked for his hairline. Why did Trump want to buy Greenland? Because he thought it came with free ice for his Diet Coke. Why did Trump keep calling the media fake news? Because they kept reporting real facts. Why did Trump's hair always look the same? Because even the truth couldn't mess it up. Why did Trump get banned from the zoo? Because every time he saw a lion, he accused it of being low energy. Why did Trump refuse to read books? Because none of them had his name in them. Why did Trump get lost at Disneyland? Because he couldn't accept that Fantasyland wasn't real life. Why did Trump say he won the election? Because reality had fake news written all over it. Why did Trump want to build a golf course on Mars? So he could finally play on a planet where he's the smartest being. Why did Trump think Mount Rushmore needed an update? Because it was clearly missing his face. Why did Trump's Wi-Fi always work perfectly? Because it was always strongly connected to alternative facts. Why did Trump bring a Sharpie to a hurricane briefing? So he could redraw the storm path in his favor. Why did Trump break up with Twitter? Because it kept fact-checking his love life. Why did Trump think he won the Super Bowl? Because someone told him there were ballots involved. Why did Trump think COVID-19 would disappear like a miracle? Because it didn't vote for him.
Oh my God!
Want me to make them even spicier or come up with some savage roasts? Alright, I'm cranking it up to savage mode. Brace yourself. Why did Trump love fast food so much? Because it was the only thing that served him without questioning him. Why did Trump build a golf course on his property? So he could practice avoiding the rough, just like in politics. Why did Trump think he could cure COVID-19 with bleach? Because he's been whitewashing problems his whole life. Why did Trump never play chess? Because every time he lost, he'd say, "It was rigged." Why did Trump's hair look like a bird's nest? Because even his hair was trying to take off and leave him. Why did Trump think Area 51 was real? Because he thought his approval ratings were hiding there. Why did Trump keep his birth certificate in a safe? Because he was afraid it would fact-check his entire existence. Why did Trump hate dictionaries? Because they had too many facts in them. Why did Trump get mad at his shadow? Because it was following him without permission. Why did Trump think the Statue of Liberty was mocking him? Because she was holding a torch, and he thought it was burning his reputation. Why did Trump think the Titanic sinking was fake news? Because he believed no ship could fail, just like his presidency. Why did Trump never read a history book? Because history kept calling him a one-term president. Why did Trump love walls so much? Because it was the only way he could block out reality. Why did Trump say he was the best president ever? Because he never met Abraham Lincoln. Why did Trump hate fact-checkers? Because they kept interfering with his creative storytelling. Why did Trump's mirror crack one day? Because even it couldn't keep a straight face anymore. Why did Trump think he won the popular vote? Because counting wasn't really his strong suit. Why did Trump refuse to eat vegetables? Because they were full of facts, just like CNN. Why did Trump think he deserved a Nobel Prize? Because he once successfully spelled Nobel in a tweet. Why did Trump think time zones were fake? Because in his world it was always Trump o'clock. I can keep roasting harder if you want, or switch up the style. Want me to go nuclear with the jokes? Alright, I'm about to unleash full nuclear roast mode. No mercy. Brace yourself. Why did Trump love his rallies so much? Because it was the only time he could find a full crowd that agreed with him. Why did Trump keep his tax returns hidden? Because he didn't want the world to know he spent more on haircuts than taxes. Why did Trump hate mirrors? Because every time he looked in one, it kept showing the same old loser. Why did Trump think COVID-19 wasn't serious? Because it didn't personally attack his ego. Why did Trump refuse to read books? Because books contain facts, and he's allergic to those. Why did Trump keep saying he was the best president ever? Because the only other comparison he had was reality TV. Why did Trump love walls so much? Because it reminded him of how he mentally blocks out common sense. Why did Trump think windmills cause cancer? Because he's been blowing hot air his entire life. Why did Trump claim he won the 2020 election? Because he thought denial was a political strategy. Why did Trump refuse to wear a mask during COVID-19? Because he didn't want to cover up the only thing bigger than his mouth, his ego. What? Why did Trump think hurricanes could be nuked? Because he thought facts could be bombed away too. Why did Trump think climate change was a hoax? Because he couldn't believe anything could get hotter than him. Why did Trump claim he was a self-made billionaire? Because he forgot about the small loan of $413 million from his dad. What? Why did Trump say, "I'm a very stable genius"? Because nobody else was willing to say it for him. Oh, no. Why did Trump think the Capitol riot wasn't his fault? Because accountability is his least favorite word. Why did Trump's hair look like cotton candy? Because it was as fragile as his presidency. Why did Trump keep firing people in his administration? Because he thought "you're fired" was still his catchphrase. Why did Trump love Twitter so much? Because it was the only platform that didn't fact-check his brain. Why did Trump think the moon landing was fake? Because he wasn't the first one to do it. Why did Trump keep talking about fake news? Because real news was his kryptonite. Why did Trump think bleach could cure COVID? Because he's been washing the truth his whole life. Why did Trump think his inauguration crowd was huge? Because he thought imaginary friends counted too. Why did Trump get mad at scientists? Because they kept using facts instead of feelings. Why did Trump keep losing lawsuits? Because the truth had a better lawyer. Why did Trump think climate change wasn't real? Because he couldn't see it in his mirror. Why did Trump want to build a hotel on Mars? Because it's the only place he could get 100% approval ratings. Why did Trump say he was a genius? Because no one else was willing to say it out loud. Why did Trump hate losing the election? Because losing wasn't part of his reality TV script. Why did Trump always talk about big wins? Because his biggest loss was his grasp on reality. Why did Trump think he deserved the Nobel Peace Prize? Because he thought peace meant piece of attention. If you think these jokes were funny, please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Stay funny, stay happy.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to Always Mabel Canada and click the notification bell to get notified every time we upload all the amazing videos. See you next time.